Hello and welcome to Haven Meadows. I'm Karen, a photographer and cut flower grower in northern Indiana. Wow guys, it has been a year. It is already September, which is just boggles my mind. I've been feeling the fall weather for a while, but still it's just always kind of a shock that it's that time of year again. It's been several months since I posted a video. I believe the last one was June or so. And so there's several things that happened for me, and one of them, I was busy in the garden. I was, just enjoying my summer doing things. And as a creator, you go through seasons of inspiration and then seasons of not having inspiration. At some point, I like to get to a place of, regularly creating content, whether I'm inspired or not, because I know that's the discipline of creating and not just inspiration that makes somebody great at what they do. So today I just wanted to share a little bit of a recap from my year and share a little bit about the flowers, what worked, what didn't, just kind of give you a bit of an overview. And I'm probably going to do quite a few different videos branching off of some of these things that I mentioned. I always feel in like the fall time, you kind of have your growing season behind you, and I just feel like there's a lot to share, a lot to talk about, and there's plans for next year. Plus the actual work and doing, there's of course dahlia tubers to pull up and things to compost, but it does still kind of feel like things are winding down and it's just not quite as intense outdoors. So to begin with, this is probably my weediest garden ever as far as flowers go. My main garden looks pretty good. I do a no-dig gardening method where I mulch heavily with compost, so weeds aren't nearly what they would be otherwise. But I didn't have quite enough compost to cover my beds as thickly as I would have liked to, so I had some weeds. And I also just let things go a lot more this year than I have other years. I'm not exactly sure why. It might have just been I was just more relaxed. And I was like, okay, we're growing flowers, the weeds, whatever. They're fine, They're just a part of the process. It doesn't have to be pristine. The other thing is that hopefully within the next 6 months or so, we are hoping to find a new property to purchase and move. So I'm not quite as concerned about making sure there's no weed seeds because I don't plan to be here next year. So maybe that's not, the best thing to do. So since we won't be here next year, probably this fall, once I've torn out all my flowers, we will end up seeding those in grass. The other thing that I'm doing is I am digging up a bunch of my perennial plants and I am potting them up now to give them a couple weeks time to grow and get established before it gets cold. Because you bet I'm taking those guys with me. Several weeks ago, I just went all over my property and I think I had 2.5 pages full of plants that I wanted to take with me. So as I'm digging them up, some of them I'm seeing the clumps are bigger than I was expecting, and so I'm just planning to divide them. And it's a lot of work. And I probably, now that I'm actually doing it, I'm being a little bit more selective about how much I actually take with me, as well as what varieties. I'm kind of making sure that I love it, because if I put in all this work to dig them up, pot them up, take them with me, I want to make sure that it's something that I'll love once it's there. Another exciting thing that's happening is I am connecting with some local growers in my area. I knew there were more people around that grew flowers, but I actually don't personally know a lot of them. So I have a wedding that I'm doing at the end of September, and through that I'm getting more flowers. So I've been reaching out and I've been finding some new people. So that's really exciting. So I'm excited to just establish some new relationships and get to know my other local flower growers. There's a lot of us. Well, I say a lot of us. There's quite a few of us just here in my local area. But just the fact that we don't know each other shows you how much room there is to fill in this locally grown flower movement. So on the subject of dahlias and connecting with other people, my dahlias this year, they bloomed, I would say, at least 3 weeks later than they did last year. Last year, I had some of my first dahlias blooming in July, mid-July. And it was probably close to a month later this year, honestly, that my first dahlias bloomed. So it was mid-August or so. So that was kind of strange for me. At first, I thought that it might be my spacing. I planted my dahlias quite a bit more closely this year, and I don't know, that could have affected them, but the other day when I was talking with one of my new flower grower friends here in the area, she mentioned that hers were late and that she's in a Facebook group and that a lot of people had late dahlias. So I guess it's a thing maybe with the season. We'll see next year. It was different for me this year. One of the varieties that bloomed quite a bit later last year bloomed really well and bloomed earlier this year. So it's so unpredictable. Every year is so different. You can, of course, try and cover all your bases and, do several sowings of this and that. But at the end of the day, farming or growing anything that's dependent on the weather, it does leave a whole lot up to chance and to just the year. Overall, I had a really great year. I primarily sold my bouquets as bouquet subscriptions this year. So I had 4 bouquet subscriptions this year, which was a really good amount for me. I think I would have had enough flowers that I would have been able to sell more subscriptions, especially like now in the summertime. But the other thing is that it seems people are quite a bit more interested and eager for flowers in the early springtime, and then in the summertime when you have all the dahlias just growing like crazy and there's a whole lot, more flowers available. It's not quite the same novelty as it is in the early springtime. So it kind of balanced out, and I pretty much always have flowers in my house, which that's actually something that I've been having to remind myself of how special that is, because I remember when I used to dream of, having flowers in my house all the time, and it is really special still, but I'm trying to remind myself of wow, remember that? That's special, And because you do get used to it. It doesn't make you any less grateful, but it's familiar, right? And it's not a novelty the way it used to be. And I think that's okay. It's something we can enjoy. But new things, we always feel a certain way when things are new, and then there's a time where it's familiar and it's good, and we can still be grateful. So we enjoy a lot of flowers in our house, and I also gave away some flowers. So I still have quite a few flowers out there. The dahlias especially are just really ramping up right now, and just, they're in their full best season right now. Something that was new for me this year was growing specialty tulips and daffodils. I'm guessing I planted around 50 daffodil bulbs last fall, and then probably around 150 or so tulips. And so that was fun. That was a new experience for me, and people, especially in the early spring, people really seem to like those early bulbs. So that's definitely something I want to continue doing. Like I mentioned earlier, we're probably going to be moving. So if I do want to do tulips and daffodils for next year, I'm going to have to plant them in bulb crates and take them with me that way. So we'll see what I do yet. That does sound kind of fun. Actually, you know what? I have to do that because I have tulip bulbs on the way. So I'm definitely going to be taking out my daffodil bulbs and taking those with me. But I actually need to think about that. I might have to get some more bulb crates around, because I know that I won't have enough with the tulips that I ordered. These are just kind of some random notes and things that I thought about that stood out to me about this year. Something that was new for me this year that I grew was Status. I grew Status Forever Silver. I am officially won over. I have never grown Status before. I used to kind of think of it as this very kind of cheap, maybe kind of garish Status, that would come in just any old inexpensive bouquets that you would buy. And obviously I don't know where that stigma came from exactly, except that the only colors I believe I've seen it in would be the blue, purple colors. So like I said, I grew it in white this year, and I'm totally sold. It produces so well, just on and on and on. And I really enjoy using it. The past couple of years, I grew Selway White Celosia, and I did actually really like that. It kind of blooms about the same time that Status does. But since I've grown the two this year, I had quite a bit of Celosia that soul seeded from last year, and I didn't use any of that. I actually thought about cutting it down, but the bees and the pollinators love it so much that I decided to just leave it. So I'm sure there's going to be more that's very willing to sprout next year. But something that I really liked about the Status in comparison with the celosia was that the status is like pure white. The celosia is a little bit more, it's kind of like an ivory creamy color, a little bit of a yellow color to it, and it's okay. But I felt like the status was a lot more just kind of classic and elegant, whereas the celosia is a little bit more maybe bohemian, just kind of a little bit more of a wild flower look to it. I grow both of those flowers, but if I have to choose between those two, status was definitely a big favorite. I'm sure if I took more time, I could come up with some more recap points for this year, but I am working on organizing just some different video ideas that I have, and so I'm going to be doing some more extensive videos on some of these subjects and some new subjects that I didn't mention. So things like wins and fails of this year, flowers that I really loved and plan to grow again, and what I didn't love so much and what's getting kicked to the curb. And so definitely stay tuned. I hope to be sharing more videos regularly in the next couple weeks and months. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to check out these videos, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And I will look forward to seeing you in my future videos. Bye.